Now I think we are already live. As usual, I check whether this is working, and I also check whether people are out there already. Usually people join not immediately. Oh, there we go. Yeah, there are already some people there. Hello, everybody out there. I'm talking today to David Wells, and David Wells is a Scottish expert in Qabalah, tarot, astrology, mediumship, and magic. And he says that is all the same, right, David?
Yeah, hi there. Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's all Qabalah for me. That's it all comes under that umbrella, basically.
Exactly, and that's why I wanted really to talk to you, because you are one of the Kabbalistic experts I met who is very charming. Usually it's hard to find somebody who is not very highbrow when we talk about Kabbalistic, but you stroke me as somebody who is very friendly, explains stuff in a nice way, and for me to be understood. And that's why I bought David's book, the Qabalah, which is now in a second edition. I take it, and no longer in this edition available.
Yeah, it's called Qabalah Made Easy now.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happens when you read this book. It's a very, very good introduction to Qabalah, and even with the mentioning of tarot, which doesn't happen so often. And it's a very, very good if you want to learn the Qabalah, not with your head, but with your whole body, I would say, because there are lots of meditations in it and everything. I like it very much. Yes. David, but before we dive into Qabalah and tarot, perhaps you're going to say a bit about yourself and how you came to be a student of the ancient mysteries, because we are talking with Germans today and they probably don't know you so well.
Okay. Well, I had a bit of a, regular upbringing. I was a kind of mediumistic little boy, and mediumistic little boy.
I like that.
Well, you kind of, how your children, grandchildren, perhaps they seem to be more sensitive, and I was just that. I was sensitive, and I used to speak to my grandfather and a couple of my uncles, and they were dead.
Wow.
But I would talk to them and then convey messages to my grandma. And then one day, there was something in the room that wasn't related to me in any way, I don't think, and it was very scary. And I had a bit of a moment, and it sort of made me stop really for a very long time. Cut a long story short, I then had pneumonia in my 30s, early 30s, and that was one of those snapping points. I think a lot of us, when we do this work, we have a snap point where there's either a trauma or there's just a huge revelation or something. That was mine. And then I was fortunate enough to, through a series of events, start to learn astrology first of all, and then that led to Qabalah when I was living in Portsmouth. I studied that for a good decade. This is pre-Google, pre-mobile phones, all the rest of it. So
you don't look at David.
I know. Listen, well, that's another thing. That's the attic and a portrait that I have.
Okay.
How the magic works. So I then progressed from that, and then I went into a real job. I'd been in the Royal Navy previously. I'd left the Navy, had this experience, and then I started working catering, and then got fed up with that, and then had a reason to leave that and started to do astrology columns actually for newspapers and magazines here in the UK as a living. So that's kind of the short version.
Okay, and but you always worked afterwards also with people and the Qabalah, and you said you were teaching people or still are teaching. Yeah. You were counseling with this, and as I learned today, you were in a major show, which hasn't made it to Germany, right. I'm afraid.
Gird yourself. Yeah, stand by.
Most haunting, you said.
Most haunted, yeah.
Most haunted, sorry. And there you did some mediumship. Very interesting.
Yeah, I did for, I was in about 5 seasons of that show over several years, yeah.
Okay, just let me check. There's somebody saying that the sound is not working. Is this true to everybody out there? Can I have a sign? By the way, Tracy, Kate, Kathy, and Dee are saying hi to you, David.
Hello.
And but I think, can people hear us? I think with me it's okay here.
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Yeah, me too. So we just continue, and if somebody else has problems, please let us know. Anyway, yes, I can hear you. Okay. Thomas, I think this is about Baden-Württemberg. There he's living in a place where the WLAN might not be so good.
Oh, okay.
Sound is fine. Yeah. So Thomas says everything okay. Okay. Good. So I'm sorry I was distracted.
That's okay.
But this is another exercise for us staying focused.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Most Haunted was, it was an experience.
Yeah, and I find this very interesting that you dared to do this, because I would never be going on TV with this. I would be very scared. But I think it's really, really a great thing. So, as I said when we were meeting up, you spell Qabalah like this. And I was spelling it with a K and a double B. And you said, oh, please spell it with a Q. Can you please tell me why this is so important?
It just differentiates between the systems, really. It's still the tree of life. And I think Qabalah is Qabalah. Regardless, there's one that spells it with a C as well, Cabala. So, but it's the way in which you work with it. So you work with the central glyph, the central figure is the tree of life, that symbol that we all probably recognize straight away. With the Q, it tends to dictate that it's the Western mystic tradition. So for me, that means it's astrology based. The tarot's there. There's lots of past life work. Geomancy is also in there. It's not something I do. There's it's a mystical, magical feel to it, if you like, where the K tends to be more of the Judaic tradition. And they still use astrology. I've seen, I follow the Qabalah Center, which I love. I love their posts. And they have a lot of astrology in there, but then I can hear the way they work with it is very similar, but not the same, if you know what I mean. So for someone like myself, the Q is more attractive because I think it also offers that a bit more freedom for me. It offers me the way that I can interpret the tarot, or I can interpret the astrology, etc.
So, and when you studied this, how do I have to understand this? You work with the tree of life, and from there on you would learn tarot and astrology, or do you first learn every bit and then it comes all together?
You kind of learn it in together. You start at the very bottom of the symbol and you work your way up. So the bottom is called Malkuth, which is where we live now. But this is Malkuth. This is a.
I can go onto the tree of life you sent me for this.
Yeah.
Might be easier. Just hold on for a second. So where is it? Here.
Yeah, so you can start at the very bottom, Malkuth, and then we work our way back up to Ketha. Now we start by doing, see the round ones first. So there's Malkuth, Yesod, Hod, Netzach, Tifrith, Geburah, Hesed, Bina, Hokmah, Ketha. And you're all off the top of my head. I didn't read that. Oh, no, I did read it, actually. So we start by looking. These are, if you like, these are spheres. So don't think of them as circles. Think of them as spheres of energy. They emanate this energy. And we're on Earth, which is Malkuth, okay? So you start there and you learn about what that means. You learn about the element, you learn about the tarot involved in it, you learn about their tens. All the tens sit in Malkuth.
So sorry for interrupting, just for me to understand. So you decide to learn the Western mystery tradition, and then the teacher says, first we start to talk about Malkuth.
Yeah, okay. we get, well, there was a bit beforehand, so we talked a little bit about the philosophy and other aspects of it. But when you start to study the symbol, you start in Malkuth, then you go up to Yesod, so you don't touch those paths you can see with the tarot names, the major arcana on them. You don't really walk those pathways. You do discuss the cards, but you don't talk about the pathways. So you go up to Keth, then you come back down, then you start to work your way up all the pathways. And the pathways, you'll see, have the major arcana written on them. So there's the moon, death, devil, justice, hermit, lovers. They're all there, you know, and you work your way up there. So it gives you, from a tarot perspective, what it does is it gives you a different way of looking at traditional interpretations. And also when you study it, you do path workings, they're called. So as opposed to the guided visualizations, but they're specific to the card. It's also, by the way, a superb way of understanding your deck better, especially the majors. It's different in Qabalah because you're looking for specific things, but just to understand your cards better by using the system, you put yourself into a meditative state, look at your card before you go and have your card on your altar, your major on your altar. And then you look at the last thing you see before you close your eyes to go into meditation is that card. You then put yourself in a forest or in a sacred space. And then you walk into the card. So you walk through the card and you meet, it could be the figure from the card on the other side, or it can open up a whole new landscape that you explore, and it describes the path of the card that you're dealing with, and you gain more information. And for me, that actually is how we advance spiritually with our tarot, with our astrology, whatever. You form an individual and personal relationship with all the symbols that you're gathering. It's like a big game. It's like a big computer game. You go on the path, you gather all the symbols that mean something to you. And then when you bring them back, they're there waiting for you to use when you do your readings or in your life, or they appear in your life, you know. So that's essentially, it's the very basic way of saying how it works.
Well, when I introduced you, I said that you are a very nice guy with a Qabalah, but I've met people who are very bossy when they teach Qabalah and insist that it's the only way done to be able to understand the tarot at all. And this is why I'm really reluctant to learn more Qabalah, because I don't think that you need to do this. And what you're saying right now again is like, there is a path and this belongs to one card. And I am wondering how this can be, because there are different systems in Qabalah. And
this is the Western mystery tradition. Yes, there are different systems. I agree with you. One thing I never do, Kirsten, is tell people what they see, what to see, or how to feel about it. I take them to the doorway and I help them open the door. And when they go in, it should be really personal. You know, for my interpretation of the Archangel Metatron will not be yours, because you do not have my eyes, you don't have my mind, you know, and I don't have yours. So they are different. However, the basic understanding of who he is and what that energy does is probably the same for all of us, you know, but they appear in a different way. They make us feel different because we're all made differently. And as for being bossy about it, no, I'm really not. I'm never bossy about it.
You're not at all. I just meant that I find it very hard to accept that Kabbalists say, if you don't know the Kabbalah, you can't do tarot. You don't say this. You say it's all coming together. But for me, this is still difficult, because I think as you said, there's a Western tradition, but there's a French tradition, there's a British tradition. In Germany, well, we don't do much Kabbalah here anymore, I think.
You might be surprised. Yeah, I'm sure there probably is.
I actually might be probably going to have lots of letters right now.
There will be. Well, there's this. Probably, I'm sure there is. I'm sure there
exactly.
is.
And
I just think that I think you can definitely do tarot without doing Kabbalah. Absolutely. You do astrology without Kabbalah. Of course you can. You can do all of it without Kabbalah. I think for me, what Kabbalah offers is just a new way of looking at it if you've not done it before, and also a way of tying those disciplines in together. I'm sure that when you read your tarot cards, that there is something you think, well, this is the card of Pisces, this is the card of Aries, so this is springtime, whereas this card, this Capricorn card is Christmas time. You already incorporate things that are off of just straight tarot because it's in there. You can't avoid it. And it's the same with once you know that the tarot cards can represent a particular temple or whatever, then you have that extra piece of information. It's just more, like I said, it's more symbology, more things for you to draw on when needed, really.
So which card would be the Metatron? Would it be a card, or is it just sitting in Keter, I think? In
Keter, which is Neptune.
Yes.
So you would have Neptune would be, well, Keter is Neptune, and then Chokmah is brain's gone. Chokmah, for example, is Uranus. So you just associate. So the Fool would be Uranus. So you would it's really, what's the best way of putting it? It's that symbolism thing. It's adding that extra layer of astrology into your tarot, so that when you're reading it, you can use the tree of life if you have it with you, like you would use an astrology chart. You okay?
Yeah, I have to do something. Very sorry.
Okay.
Ich bin gerade am Telefon.
I just sing to you all. Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I was just singing, tell a joke.
Mercury just appeared and brought a parcel.
Oh, okay. He's a bit like that Mercury. At least he's not going backwards. At least you're getting a parcel.
Exactly. Das ist nichts für dich. Weg. Ja. Gut. Geh. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't put him away like you put away your dog.
Yeah. But I think, I don't know if you do any, as an astrologer, so when I was doing readings, I had someone's chart and my cards. So that if I was working with the cards, and say I'm looking at the cards and the Wheel of Fortune is there, and Jupiter is really prevalent in their chart, then that gives the extra emphasis to me. It means, and I have to look at both, or maybe Jupiter's going past their sign, so it draws my eye towards it. So combining the two gives you more to move. I'm a Gemini, so my head needs to go like this. That's how it works. Simple. So I need all these different things, because if I studied one thing, I would be like, I would be so bored. So for me, that's how it works.
Okay.
Air signs kind of like that,
Yeah. I have a Gemini moon. I can relate to this.
Right. Yeah.
I have a question here for you from Marion. She wanted to know how you chose which tradition to learn. Was it just a teacher you met, or did you compare traditions and dived into the one that made the most sense to you?
Well, Marion, to be honest with you, fate. There it was. I had the cue in front of me. You know, it wasn't. I wasn't even aware of the K at the time, and I think the K really came to prevalence when Madonna started with the Qabalah Center. You know, and it's a different K to the that one in and of itself as well. Some people who do the KK in maybe studying Israel or something there, they would be like, well, that's not my K, that's it, you know. But it was happenstance. It was where I was. And I think also because astrology led me into it, you know, started with astrology and it led me into it. I really didn't choose. I think the thing I should say here is it chose me. Obviously.
and did you learn with a special teacher, or was it
yeah, I had the same teacher, same teacher for about 10 years in Portsmouth, although as we progressed we did a lot more. We did more on our own, well, not our own, within our group, and we had different teachers as well coming in and out who had been trained. And I think because we didn't have that social media pressure, and because we didn't have the luxury of you know, we could do a class on Zoom, you know, because we had to go to school, because we had to sit down in front of a teacher, that gave it some kind of reverence. It gave it some kind of extra magic. And in Qabalah, the word means received. You see it. You'll see it in hotels. Qabalah means reception, and it means ear to mouth as well. So or mouth to ear. So it's literally someone telling you it, and that in and of itself is one of the biggest problems with books and with teaching, because the written word and the spoken word are two very different things. I'm sure you know that. And I think that's the thing that misses, that skips, that I can't quite get my head around in a way, because being in the presence of a teacher for any of us, regardless of where we are in our development, and being in the presence of a teacher who inspires you can never happen with a book. You know, it happens differently, but not the same way. And I think that's what's so magical about actually going to lectures and going to you know, tarot festivals, for example. The magic of actually being in the room with people who you think, yeah, I can feel it, I get it, you know.
Yeah, I totally agree. Interesting. I have another question by Ellen. By the way, if you have any questions regarding Qabalah and Tarot, please put them into the comments and I will ask them, obviously. Ellen wants to know whether you do private readings.
Good question. I don't at the moment, and I am going to be very honest in that I have done readings for many, many years, and sometimes you wear yourself out. And I kind of, with all the astrology I was writing, I burnt myself out. I also, for astrologers out there, went through the Pluto-Saturn conjunction. This is my 60th year. It was 60th year on the planet. So I'm in my second Saturn return. And when you're in your first Saturn return, it's bad enough. And your second Saturn return, when Pluto's there as well, you have a breakdown of all your structures. And as an astrologer, Kabbalist, chief baker, I decided that, you know, I was going to give into it, because you could fight it, but you're not going to beat it. You have to be part of it. And so I went inwards, and part of that was taking everything away. That's a very long-winded way of saying, no, I don't. I hope to, in the near future, start again. I really do. But I really want to be able to use the readings and use the tree and astrology, tarot, in helping people develop. So a little less of the predictive stuff and a bit more of the self-development, really. That's the model I want to now follow.
That's an excellent moment, perhaps, to tell people about what you're doing actually right now and what's coming out soon.
Yep. I have my own deck of oracle cards coming out once we all settle after the pandemic, called Qabalah Magic, and they're published by Solaris publishing. The distributors is where we're still waiting. Was, you know, that thing where you're just about to sign the contract and then there's a great big virus in the world. So I'm kind of there, really. So waiting for things to settle, as most authors are at the moment, waiting for things to settle. And then the cards, they're done. They've been done for months. It's just a case of getting them out there to people, really, is the delay. So I've been working on them for towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year. I'm very excited about them because, you know, going back to symbolism, I've tried to condense the feeling of the Sephiroth, and that's the circles, and the feeling of the paths, and the feeling of the archangels and the elemental guardians and kings, in a way that leaps from the card. You know, so the image on the card that you're showing, thank you, is Qabalah, which is Sephara, and it's the Sephara of karma, of Mars. You can see the symbol for Mars on the card. And also, if you look at the young woman who's sitting there, they're discussing a battle. Whether you think they're discussing what's going to happen or what happened in the battle, that's for you to interpret. But it's a card very much, you know, similar to the Tower in a way, with the Martian thing. That card is saying, okay, your actions, there is a karmic condition on it. It's not always a, you know, and I don't see karma as a bad or a good thing. It's just a judgment. It's a judgment call. And sometimes we have to follow those with regardless. And sometimes we just wonder if this is really what we want to do. So that's what that card says, basically. It
looks very powerful. I like this, the brightness of the sphere, and this, it's not shadowy, but this black and white in front. It's a bit like the judgment card in tarot, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I purposely didn't give much color or to the characters because I wanted the surroundings to be the thing, really.
Yeah, you said the cards are based on the Tree of Life. So how many cards are there?
In this deck, there's 49.
49? How does this number come together? So we have 10.
By magic. It's the 22 paths.
Yes.
The 10, actually 11 spark because I included Darth.
Okay.
The elemental kings and queen. There's the protection card and the archangels.
Okay. So, you gave me also 2 examples, and perhaps we can have a look at them.
So the one on the left of my screen is the Lovers, traditional Lovers card, Gemini card. And the one on the right is the Archangel Raphael, with Virgo and Gemini represented there, and also the magpie and the monkey. Magpie being Virgo and Gemini being monkey.
So is this one a sphere card and this one is a path card?
That's a path card, and the other one is a
Archangel card.
Yeah, Archangel card.
But he seems to be linked then to, I think, Netzach is the green one.
No, Netzach. That's the green color is for Virgo.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Netzach is. I didn't send you it. It's a beautiful kind of. Netzach to me is a goddess with that very feminine energy. Well done for remembering Netzach, though. That's very good. And the colors of Netzach. How did you get that?
Because it's Venus, and I like Venus a lot. So
yeah, she is the card of Venus. Yeah, she is the card of Venus. And yeah, she holds a rose, and the symbol behind her is green, and she has the symbol for Venus on it.
And I really like this card here, which you say is the Lovers. So this is the path, the Lovers.
Yep, that path goes from Tifrith up to Binar. And what that means is, can you see it there? Tifrith to Binar.
Where's Tiferet? Ah, okay, yeah, the Lovers. Yeah. Okay, here. Yeah. Okay, so you make an image of this path. Okay.
Yeah. And when because this is one of the cards I had a problem with, because the Lovers in tarot, traditional tarot, is clearly something like this. It's people in love. But for me, the Lover's path is one of duality. it's very much about the love we have for ourselves too. You can't really see it in the card because I worked with this card, drove me bonkers because I couldn't find a way of getting, I wanted her to have the same face as him, you know,
Yeah.
because they were the same person. You know, it's two sides of the same person.
Yeah.
And as we climb this path, for me, that's what that is about. And you're moving actually from soul level up into spirit level. And I think that completeness of your yin and yang, your own male and female energy is what this was about. But people will see it differently, but that's fine. I mean, if you look at the card, you can see that there's love involved there. And you can see that there's hopefully you can see that there's a longing there as well. There's a gentleness, a beauty to it as well.
No, I have to say I really like these cards also, especially with this black and white figures, because
thank you.
Kind of the figures are exchangeable, but the frame remains.
Yeah.
And I can connect to this very well. Great deck. So I hope you will tell everybody once it's coming out.
Yeah, I can't wait. This should have been out, but you know, everything in life, isn't it? We should have been doing a lot of things we aren't doing. So be it, you know.
So I will stop this now. From a Kabbalistic point of view, what do you have to say about the times we're living in right now?
From a Kabbalist point of view, I think you have to, well, you would enroll all the astrology and all the, it's interesting because people say, well, astrology, you should have known, you should have, And first of all, we all knew that there would be a great shakeup of our financial system and a great shakeup of our structures and our governments. We all knew that. And with Saturn moving into Aquarius, we all knew that there would be some kind of social breakdown too, because that's what Saturn Aquarius was always going to change groups and organizations, things like that. And what I didn't see, and a lot of people didn't see, was the nature of how that would happen. So we knew it was going to happen, but we never put anything, and we could have put it behind, how is it going to happen? But what for me was always interesting is this. So, hello, is that 10 Downing Street? Yeah, I'm an astrologer, and I think there's going to be a bit of a pandemic in January. Oh, okay, let's just look into that for you, Mr. Wells. So thank you so much for calling. It wouldn't have made any difference, would it? Let's face it. Kabbalistically, though, what I have done is look at this introspective moment we've all had. We've had this magical 2 months, and I am not taking away the awful tragedy, which my heart bleeds for anyone who's really been caught up in this, and those people who have helped us through it. Thank you. But for a lot of us, it's been this period of introspection that is always part of growth. And I hope that's what comes from it. So in order for anything else to burst open, there is always that dying back and that retreat into the seed pod, really, before, and then we gather the energy back, and then we burst out again into something else. And I think that's the way I'm going to look at it. And I hope that when we do start to really come out of it, that we look at the ways we've worked, like Zoom calls, etc., because we didn't actually need to be sitting in a room together, because that meant we didn't have to fly. So we could have done it without it. Bear in mind what I've just said about being in the room with a teacher. That may, but you know what I mean. But also we've changed the way we've worked. We've changed the planet. She's much healthier. We've changed lots of things, and we need to find ways of keeping all the good stuff and getting rid of all the bad stuff. So the lesson continues. But, you know, in Kabbalah, we go through this thing called the dark night of the soul, which I'm sure in tarot you've heard of, and all the rest of it. The 3 cards involved in that, the devil, art, and death, devil and temperance, I think it is, and death. And we go through that all the time as human beings. We sort of drop and we recharge, and we drop and recharge, we drop and recharge, you know. And I think that's what we're basically going through. And those are paths that lead us from personality into soul work. And if it does that with humanity, I would be probably astounded at the moment. I hope it does. But maybe we've moved from personality, in a sense, planetary wise, into a soul likeness in the planet. And I would love if that was the truth, because we could really do with it. You know, if we all make more soul decisions, which we've been doing. by saying to our neighbors, I'm going to the shops, do you need anything? Save you going out. We've been putting the bins out. I mean, they might seem personality, but really they're soul now, because we're trying to help another human being, you know. So maybe on a planetary level, we've moved into soul, and I hope we have, really.
So I just was showing this, the tree again. If you say dark night of the soul, this would be somewhere here, right?
Yeah, devil, art, and death. Yeah.
So it would mean that if we are in Malkut, we have traveled already a bit, but now we have to overcome some hindrances to go into the middle Sephira, which is supposed to be something like paradise.
Well, Tifrith is balance. If you look at that Sphara there, it's sitting right in the middle, and the tree will rotate. It will spin round, and it will also fold in half on that point. So it's the midpoint, if you like. It's a balancing point. It's also, I think, you know, as an individual, when I do teach the Q, I do an exercise where I ask people to hand draw just the circles. And it's a great exercise you can do if you just hand draw the circles where they are. And then when you finish hand drawing them, and don't give it too much thought, and they don't have to be perfect circles, and no using a penny or a coin to draw around them, Virgos. It's so when you draw them, then go back and look at, okay, which ones have I drawn really big, and which ones have I drawn really, really small? Then you go back and you say, okay, so I've gone really small on Tifrith. Why have I drawn it so small? Would be an indication that a basic thing is that you're out of balance. Whereas you've drawn it really big, you've gone way, or you've swung over way too much to one side. And you do that with Hod, which is about your conscious mind. So if it's really small, it means you may be closing down a bit too much and not allowing yourself to expand. If you do it too big, then your head's all over the place, and you could be just like worrying and anxious about things. So it's just a very simple exercise that can tell you so much. The point of me telling you that story, just that exercise, is this, that you are always traveling this tree in some way, shape, or form. You are never, ever starting at the bottom and working your way up until you're learning to do that. And even when you're learning to do that, you are, some days you're over in Hokmah, some days you're in Gabura, some days you're on this path, some days you're up there. Do you know what I mean? It's just
like shuffling the cards.
Yeah, exactly that. So one day you will pull, you know, the star card. The next day you might pull the moon card. That's a great way of it. If that's what path am I on now, you could just do that. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I like this. I did this exercise actually because it's in your book.
Right. Oh, you did what, the ones with the circles?
Yeah. And I'm a total failure with painting, but and drawing. But I really liked this. I also liked. I really have to recommend this book to anybody out there, because I really like these little meditations you give, and I'm not very good at meditating myself, but just this imagination of going through a path and how a path looks like and what is expecting me there and something like this. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I coming back once again to the question I had in the before. If I don't know that I'm on the Empress path, for example, will I meet an energy which is somehow emperor-y?
Empress-y. You will know you're on the Empress path. You mean if you're studying the card, or you just want to know which path?
No, if I try to learn more the Qabalah tarot way of life, let's put it this way, and I don't, well, now I know where the path is, but if I wouldn't be told about this path between, I don't know, between which one it is, exactly which card I am to expect, would I be feeling the energy nevertheless, would you say?
I think if you were doing the meditation and you knew that you were starting from Bina and you were going to Hokmah, you would access the path via the Empress card. So you would know you were going into the Empress card anyway. The only way that I do know what you mean, sometimes what happens is I can be meditating sometimes what I do is, because I obviously know the past and things, I see myself above the tree, and then I allow myself to descend towards the tree, and then I almost black out for just a minute, not even, probably just a few seconds, and then I, in my meditation, open my eyes again, and then I see where I am, if you like. It's almost like I'm allowing my soul to show me, like, you are here, on the tree of life. Then I sometimes have to look for clues as to who I'm meeting, or if I'm in a safari, or what beings I'm with, and that will give me a clue as to where I am. I can do that, but the only other way that it might happen is in dreams. So sometimes if you are having a recurring dream and you're seeing particular figures or a particular event all the time, then you could maybe find that on the tree of life, because you may be on a path in your astral being. I suspect that could work.
Okay.
There's lots of, and I'm really keen, Kirsten, that people see in it that making it your own is the secret for me to this. We need good teachers, and we need people to guide us and to open the doors and to keep us safe and things. But if you feel that you'd like to explore it more from a crystal aspect, for the crystals are on the tree, if you want to explore it more from the archangels, from Metatron down to Sandalphon, if that would suit you better, if you want to explore which archangel does what and where and why and how, then start there. It's something, own it. I think the key is to own it, because whether you study it or not, it's there. People have a tree on them. Everybody you see has a tree on them,
Yeah, I have to think about this.
It's like you with tarot. If you can see someone and you could probably spend maybe 10 minutes with them, and you would probably be able to associate an archetype. One of the tarot, a major, or certainly you would be able to associate a queen, a king, a prince, a princess, and what suit, you really would, wouldn't you? So it's the same thing.
True. That's a good comparison. Yeah, okay. I'm just watching. Nobody has asked any more questions. Strange. There are loads of people out there.
Falling asleep.
Well, now they're all saying hi, and they're delighted that you're that they can see you, that they miss you on TV. Oh. When did you stop doing these films?
Oh, years ago. I mean, I couldn't even tell you. I think it was probably a decade ago, I think. Maybe.
Really?
But it's always on. It's always on cable somewhere. You're flipping through the channels. And, oh, where my big hair and my...
It's pity I can't watch BBC here. Was it on BBC?
No, it was on cable television.
Well, no, wait, I don't think I will get it here. But anyway, I think we're done for now, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, I think people can have had an impression what you do and how they can get more information about what you do. And I'm really looking forward to these cards. I think they look really, really good. And perhaps I will get deeper into Qabalah.
Yeah.
Which is all the same anyway. I will remember this. and learn more. And to everybody out there, anybody who wants to leave a comment still after the talk, just leave it there, and I can go back to David and ask him whether he can say something about this.
Okay.
I've done some online course with him, says Annie. You are such an inspiration, she says.
Oh, that's kind. Thank you, Annie.
Yes, so you're still available for teaching, you said, though, right?
Yeah, I still do. I have done a lot of online courses, and I'm doing some past life work in the end of this year, hopefully, and certainly the beginning of next year. I have some past life workshops out in the real world, which I'm looking forward to seeing people. But yeah, I'm still available. I'm available for bookings.
Well, I will just put your website into the notes as well, so people can contact you whenever. Okay. And for me, it was a great pleasure to talk to you,
Thank you.
and an inspiration as well.
It's great to see you again. Hopefully I'll see you at a conference sometime soon.
I'm planning to come to the one in October if it's happening. Actually, I'm going to have a little talk, but I don't know whether it's going to happen or not. It's today they said yesterday in Germany, they said that we're now again allowed to travel to places like England.
Good.
But I don't know whether, is it a good idea?
Well, that's the thing, maybe give it a beat. Yeah. But by October, you'll just have to make it. I mean, it's hard to know, isn't it? It's really hard to know.
Yeah. It's weird times.
Very odd times indeed.
So people are thanking you for the interesting talk, and they hope their brain can come around to this at one point.
It will, slowly but surely. You don't have to learn it all at once. You know, it takes time. You know? And you never stop learning, quite frankly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I stop for today, and to everybody German out there, I speak on Friday again in German with Roy, whom you all know, and we see who's next week. Have a great time out there.
Bye.
Bye.